Jesus went into the synagogue or the temple or the church. For those of you who don't know, this used to be a Jewish synagogue. And a man with a shriveled hand was there. As I studied, I learned that was his right hand. Some of them were looking for a reason to accuse Jesus. These are Pharisees. And so they watched Jesus closely to see if he would heal this man with the shriveled hand on the Sabbath. Jesus said to the man with the shriveled hand, "Stand up in front of everyone." Then Jesus asked them, not the man, but he asked the Pharisees, "Which is lawful on the Sabbath, to do good or to do evil, to save life or to kill?" I love this. But they remained silent. He shut them up. Verse 5, he looked around at them in anger and deeply distressed at their stubborn hearts, said to the man, "Stretch out your hand." And he stretched it out, and his hand was completely restored. And the Pharisees went out and began to plot how they're going to kill Jesus. Here we go. Let's pair that with Ephesians. I also pray that you will understand the incredible, greatness of God's power for us who believe him. This is the same mighty power that raised Christ from the dead and seated him in the place of honor, where? At God's right hand. Y'all already see where I'm going. In heavenly realms. Now watch this. Ephesians 2:6, last verse. For he raised us. So Jesus is at the right hand of the Father, but he raised us, you and I, from the dead along with Christ and seated us with him. So Jesus is at the right hand of the Father, and we're seated with Jesus, which means we're at the right hand of the Father, united with Jesus. I got a word that is going to help you today, encourage you, and it's going to change your life. I really believe that if you let it, if you open up your heart and your mind to receive this word is for every single one of you. Whether this is your first time in church or you are a seasoned, mature Christian, I want to preach to you a message God gave me this week while I was traveling. Come on, this is the message title: When Life Deals You a Jacked Up Hand. Y'all ain't ready. Are there any card players in the house? I didn't say gamblers, I said card players. A bunch of y'all were nervous. Do I raise my hand? Is this a trick? How many euchre players do we got? Anybody? Euchre? Some of y'all are like, I never heard of that. Rook, poker. You're like, Uno. How about rummy? Okay, what about spades? All right, I'm in the right room. I'm in the right room. One time, I was playing spades, right? If you don't know what that is, come to the altar. We need to pray for you. And I got my hand that was dealt to me, and it was whack. I didn't have no jokers. I didn't have the deuce of spades. I didn't have very many spades at all. If I did, they were low. I looked at my hand. I'm like, this is a jacked up hand. You ever got a hand like that where you're like, redeal, misdeal, misdeal. I saw you cheating. It's like, what? I looked at my hand, and I knew this was not going to win any books. This is not going to win any tricks. Like, this ain't going nowhere. It was terrible. It was a jacked up hand. The thing about a game like spades, though, and what I learned that day is, it doesn't matter how good your hand is. If your partner has a hand that can supplement your hand in such a way that no matter what you play, you still gonna win. I'm going somewhere. And as I would play my whack, bogus, garbage, trash hand, I would throw it down in disgust. I'm never getting invited back to this game. I'd be losing, or would appear to be losing, until my partner would play. And every time my partner would play, it was so good that even though my hand was trash, it didn't matter. And what I started to do was talk smack based off not my hand, but their hand. In your face! How's that taste? Ah! And just like spades, sometimes in life, you feel, it appears like you have been dealt a jacked up hand. One of the biggest misnomers, one of the worst things we can do as Christians and particularly church leaders is give the perception that once you start following Jesus, you're never going to have a jacked up hand. That once you give your life to Jesus and repent of your sins and all that, that like it's just going to be good from then on out. That you'll never have to go through anything, that you'll never face any battles, that you'll never have any more struggles, you'll never have to pay a bill. You can eat pizza every day and not gain any weight. I hope that happens in heaven. That'd be so awesome. It's going to be amazing. I can eat ice cream and not be lactose intolerant. You know what I'm saying? If I look at ice cream right now, my wife smacks me. Don't you dare. You know what happens. I'm like, you know what happens. We're married. Like, what's she going to do? And life can deal you a hand in such a way that you want to turn them over and say, Miss Deal. I want to encourage somebody in our middle service here that if you've gotten to a point right now or you've gone through this point or you will get to this point that just because you have a jacked up hand doesn't necessarily mean that you're a bad person, that you did something wrong, that you don't have enough faith, that you're not believing Jesus enough. Y'all, sometimes life just deals you a jacked up hand. Listen, sometimes it's not the devil. It's not the devil you ran out of gas. You need to look at that meter a little bit more often. You can't be riding through on fumes talking about, I got faith. No, you need to, I got gas. That's what you need. It's not the devil. You got a flat tire. It's not the devil. You saw that in the road and decided to not go around it. Sometimes life just deals you a jacked up hand. It might be a medical thing that happened out of nowhere. You didn't deserve it. You were doing everything you could. You were eating right and exercising, and still, this thing came to pop out of nowhere. It's like life just dealt you a jacked up hand. Some of you are doing everything you know to do to live right and more like Jesus. And it seems like the more you follow Jesus, the more your hand gets jacked up. It's almost like I want to just go back to what I was used to do. It was easier back then. Maybe for you, your jacked up hand is a relationship. Maybe it's your finances. Maybe it's a coworker that's trying to sabotage your project. Life sometimes just deals you a jacked up hand. I want you to know, hear me. As your pastor, we try to keep it real. Listen to me. You will have seasons in your life where life deals you a jacked up hand. No one is exempt. We live in a fallen world, a world full of sin. This system, this worldly system is broken. And I don't know the answer to why does bad stuff happen to good people. I can tell you, though, that this worldly system is broken. And sometimes it's not God's fault. And sometimes it's not the devil's fault. Sometimes life just deals you a jacked up hand. That cancer did not make sense. You didn't deserve it. They didn't deserve it. And for whatever reason, I don't know the answer. Life deals you a jacked up hand. Every single one of us, myself included, have gone, are going, will go through a moment where we look at the hand that life has dealt and be like, the devil is a lie. Misdeal. I want to give you today 3 things that are really going to help you. If you're a first-time guest, you should feel lucky. Normally I have like 14 points, and today's just 3. 3 things to do, listen, when life deals you a jacked up hand. You ready? I don't think you're ready. Come on, ask your neighbor, are you ready? Number 1, when life deals you a jacked up hand, you need to keep showing up. Keep showing up. Keep showing up. Keep showing up. This man in our text in Mark 3 has a withered hand, a shriveled hand. This, in the original language, literally means to dry up. I wonder if any of you have anything in your life that just seems like it's dried up. I wonder if you've ever gotten to a season where your finances just seem to dry up, where the love in your marriage just seemed to dry up, where that friendship, y'all were homies since day one, and for some reason it's just dried up. It's dried up. God used to speak to you while you're in your quiet time, and it just seems like it's the voice of God is just dried up. This man has a withered hand, and in that Hebraic culture, listen to me, very important, any physical ailment or deformity would have made this man be marked as unclean. He would not have been allowed to come anywhere near the temple, let alone in the temple. He would have had to be out of the village by everybody else who was jacked up. And when people, this is how bad it was, when people would get anywhere near them, they had an obligation, like a religious obligation to yell out, unclean, unclean, so that the average passerby would not get too close. This man is unclean, and yet in our text, we find him not out in the unclean section of town. You catching this? We find him in the church. He keeps showing up to church. Now this is, you might be thinking, yeah, this story should be, but listen to me. As you look through the Gospels and you recall other healings that take place, listen, this is awesome. Only one other healing out of all miracles happened in the church. Blind Bartimaeus yells by the side of the road. They go to a man's house and rip a hole through the roof to drop the man down to be healed. Blind men that are spat upon the dirt or spat in their eye, that's at the side of the road. There's a man who sits at the gate called Beautiful. A woman with the issue of blood goes down the road to touch the hem of the garment. The centurion's servant got healed in the house. Peter's mother-in-law got healed in the house. Jairus' daughter got healed in the house. Oftentimes, there's this person at the pool of Bethesda. There's all these examples of people who did get healed. Watch this. Outside of church. Because they were unclean. They were not allowed to bring what was wrong with them into the presence of God. They would be judged by Pharisees. They would be told to leave. They would be ostracized. They would be marked as somebody to stay away from. And yet something in this man, we don't even know his name, but there was something in this man that said, even though religion and the Pharisees want me to go out there and stay away, I got to get myself in the presence of Jesus. And he keeps showing up. It's human nature, y'all. I've done it. You might have done it. It's human nature that when life deals you a jacked up hand, instead of running to church, what do? We run away from church. There'll be somebody who comes consistently, and then I don't see him for a while. Then I see him. I say, hey, where you been? Like, not in a where you been, but like, where you been? I missed you, like sincerely. And here's the answer they usually give. I was going through some things. You heard that? You said that? What is it about us that we try to do it on our own? That we think that just because we got a jacked up hand from time to time, that we can't come into the house of God. Here's what I've learned, y'all. When I come through those doors and sit down on a chair with my jacked up hand, if I were to be honest and my neighbors were to be honest, you would realize they got jacked up hands too. Your neighbor's hand might be more jacked up than yours. And we allow the voice of the enemy to tell us, you're not worthy. Stay home. You're a hypocrite. What are you doing going to church with your jacked up hand? If God loved you that much, he wouldn't have let this come to you. If Jesus really cared about you, you wouldn't have a jacked up hand. And we have these moments where we're like, I don't want to go to church. I want to run far away as I can from church. That's why when I invite somebody and they're like, I would come, but, I'm afraid the building will start on fire, I invite people all the time. I'm inviting people consistently, people who keep telling me no. And the same response every time when I invite this particular person, they say, I'm going to come when I get my stuff together. They don't say stuff. When I get my stuff together, I'm going to come. And I'm like, bro, you don't got to get your stuff together. Matter of fact, you can't get your stuff together without Jesus. You don't got to get good to get God. You get God, you get good. You need to come with your jacked up hand and say, Lord, here's my jacked up hand. Look at it. I'm going to still worship you even with a jacked up hand. I want to encourage somebody to keep showing up even with a jacked up hand. You might not feel like it, but keep on showing up. You might want to stay home and pull the covers over your head and not get out of bed for 5 days, but there has to be something on the inside of you that says, even though I got a jacked up hand, I'm going to keep showing up. I'm going to keep on serving. I'm going to keep on worshiping. I'm going to keep on getting around other people who can pick me up out of my funk. Come on. You got to keep showing up. You got to keep showing up. He finds himself in the temple. Here's the thing about showing up. You never know when that day is going to turn into that day. You never know when just another day turns into the day that changed everything. And we believe in social media. We believe in all the platforms we ask you to follow. We believe in watching Facebook Live and YouTube and all that. That's great, but there's something special about being in the house of God. There's something special about being around hundreds of other like-minded believers. There's something special. There's like this thing, I can't even describe it. It's the Spirit of God that although it can be present at home watching Facebook, it's elevated, it's accelerated, it's bigger, it's magnified when we all get together. Why? Because God always meets you at your level of expectation. And so as high as your level of expectation is for God at home watching a YouTube rebroadcast, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But that's one person's level of expectation. You get around an environment like this, you get 250 people raising their level of expectation together. I'm just telling you, I can't even explain it. I don't even have all, I'm just telling you, there's something special that happens when we all get together. That is why the Bible says, do not forsake the coming together, especially as the day of Jesus coming back draws near. That we cannot, just not come to church. I'm not trying to get you here just to check this box off of your Sunday to-do list. But the truth is, statistics say that the average Christian, so not like seeker, not like person just checking it out, like the average Christian comes to church 2.4 Sundays a month. 2.4. That used to be 4 or 3 point whatever. And it's dropping, and I'm not trying to get on anybody. I get it. We're busy. You got stuff to do. The sickness has been going around. I get it. I'm just saying, if at all possible, if you have a decision, should I go or should I not go? I'm just telling you, there is something powerful when you just keep on showing up. And you might show up for 6 months and nothing happens, but something might happen that next Sunday after 6 months that changes everything. Keep on showing up. I want to help you out. There will be days you don't feel like it. Can I get a witness? There are days I don't feel like going to the gym. Can I get a witness? I'm going to really help you right here. There are days when we don't feel like going to work. Can I get a witness? On a Monday after spring forward, telling you. But no call, no showing to work and see what happens. Don't go to the gym ever. And see what happens. Go to the mall more than you go to the bank and see what happens. There are Sundays and some days where you're not going to feel like getting here. Not because you're sick or going out of town. I'm just saying, like you're sitting at home, you're eating Captain Crunch thinking, I don't even know. You know what? But there is something powerful when you push past your feelings, because feelings are funny. Feelings are fickle. Feelings will flip-flop on you and leave you confused yourself. There is something when you push through and persevere, and even on days you don't feel like it, even on days you don't feel like preaching, Pastor Tyler, you better get up here and preach the word that God has given you. Come on, we got to keep on showing up. Life deals you a jacked up hand. Keep on showing up. Don't run away. Don't retreat. Keep on coming. It's not just about church. Hear me. Keep on showing up in that marriage. I know it's hard. Keep on showing up in that relationship. I know it's difficult, but keep on showing up and love that coworker that you don't really want to love. Keep on showing up. And your faithfulness and your consistency. Here's the problem. Can I just go a little bit deeper right here? Come on. Here's the problem. Like 3 people said, yeah. The rest of you are like, too bad. We live in a generation that is obsessed with success. And we want Instagram likes and Twitter follows more than we want to hear, well done, my good and faithful servant. What good is it to have 100 people follow you, or 1 million people follow you, or whatever you think is a lot follow you on Instagram when nobody is following you to heaven in real life? I'm just saying, I want to help every 16-year-old watching this on YouTube right now. Hear me. Here's the true definition of success: faithfulness. 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 Because faithfulness always leads to fruitfulness. And fruitfulness is what you would call success, but you can't get that unless you're first faithful. Well done, my good and faithful. I'm telling you, some days you might not see how holding a sign or putting up flags or making coffee or changing diapers in Hope City Kids makes any difference in the world until you look around 3.5 years later and see a church that's almost 1,000 people paid off, changing a city, and you realize, if I'll just keep on showing up, if I'll just keep on serving, if I'll just keep on praising, if I'll just keep on giving, even when I don't feel like it, God can do anything. He is a miracle worker. Keep on showing up. Hallelujah. That was point one. Number two, when life deals you a jacked up hand, keep standing up. Keep showing up, and then keep standing up. This man is in the temple, and Jesus does something that I would consider a little bit strange. He calls this man and tells him to stand up in front of everyone. This phrase, stand up or standing forth, in the King James, it literally means continual elevation. It means to go somewhere. It means to get up, to arise, to go to the next level. And he tells this man to stand up in front of everybody. Now, this is the worst thing that Jesus could have asked of this man for this man. Because if anything this man did not want, it is to be called up in front of everybody. He'd want to sit somewhere off where he could hide, and hopefully, as Jesus walked by, maybe like grab the hem of his garment or something. He heard that trick before, and do something to get his healing. Jesus said, hey, you, come here. Right here, stand up in front of everybody. And the text is so interesting, because then he turns his attention, Jesus does, to the Pharisees. This man is standing up in front of everybody. And he asks the Pharisees a rhetorical question. He says, what's better? To do good or evil? To save a life or not? And did you catch it? I pointed it out when we read it. They couldn't say nothing. He wasn't even healed yet. But just the fact that he kept showing up and standing up shut up his haters. Woo, I feel like preaching right here. Some of us waste so much energy and time responding to trolls, worried about what they're saying and the clap back and Twitter fingers and all that. And I need to let you know. I need to let you know, if you want to handle it on your own, God's going to let you. If you want to get vengeance on your own, God's going to let you. But real maturity is saying what, like we already sang, this battle is not mine. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and spiritual wickednesses in high places. That sometimes the best thing we can do, watch this, is just stand there. Just stand there. Why? Because God's going to take care of it. God will deal with them. God will shut the mouth of every lion, Daniel. God will shut the mouth of every devourer, Proverbs. God will shut the mouth of anyone who rises up to speak against you if you let God. If you put yourself and position yourself and posture yourself in a place where you say, this battle is not mine, but the Lord's. I didn't choose this battle, so I'm not going to fight this battle. I'm going to let God do the heavy lifting, and I'm just going to keep on standing. Like for real, when people talk bad about you, just hit them with this. Love you. Y'all, it will make them even more mad. Here's the thing I've learned in life. Your next promotion is predicated upon your current level or tolerance of pain. If this is all you can handle, this is all God will let you handle. If you can't handle coworkers talking about you now, why would God give you the promotion that would make even more coworkers talk about you? If you can't steward 80 grand a year, 50 grand a year, 30 grand a year, whatever it is, $1 million a year, whatever, why would God give you more? Your current tolerance of pain is the ceiling for your next level of promotion. I'm not wishing pain upon anyone. I'm just saying, sometimes when you don't know what else to do, all you can do is just stand. Stand. Not retreat. Sometimes you don't feel like you can go forward. Just stand. Hear me, because sometimes survival is success. Sometimes making it through is what you're supposed to do. Not for a lifetime, but there are seasons. When the day of evil comes, having done everything to stand, still stand. Here's where you have to understand, though. Here's what you have to get. What am I standing on? And what am I standing for? I'm going to say it again for the people in the middle. Rows 7 through 12. Here we go. Somebody's counting right now. Here we go. You have to understand what you stand under, what you stand for, and what you stand upon. When you get to that point, you will realize once in a while it's okay to just stand. I might not have all the answers, but I'm going to keep showing up and I'm going to keep standing up. I'm going to let God talk to my haters for me, and I'm going to keep on standing. They want me to lie down and die right here. They want me to give up and quit. They thought their insults could keep me from going anywhere, but I don't know all the answers. I don't know what the future holds, but one thing I know, I'm going to stand. If it's the last thing I do, if I'm all by myself, I'm going to be standing. I'm going to be standing. I'm going to keep standing up. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. We're going to stand up for that. We're going to stand up for righteousness. We're going to stand up for holy living. We're going to stand up for loving people. We're going to stand up for relationship over religion. We're going to stand up for the city of Racine. We're going to stand up for Racine Unified. We're going to stand up for the people that other people walk on. We're going to stand up. Because here's what happens when life deals you a jacked up hand. It'd be so easy to be like, you know what? I'm good. I'm good. I didn't want that anyways. I mean, I am blessed already, you know. It gets good gas mileage. Good cargo space. Like, who says cargo space in a car? But it's like, I'm good. I didn't even want it that much. It's all right, it's all right, it's all right. Like some of us, we will rise to the level of opposition. And the moment somebody says something, we back down. Y'all, do you know where Hope City would be if we back down every time somebody says something? There'd be about 4 of y'all in here. Tyler, Gina, Remy, Braxton. And 3 of them would be there because I made them. I would ask that you change your perspective. Perhaps opposition is actually validation that you're in the right room. Could opposition simply be an opportunity that when everyone else wants to lounge in their lack, you just stand up, throw your shoulders back, and let God deal with them? Well, I would stand up, I would show up, but there's so many hypocrites. Like, I'd keep showing up to church, but there's so many hypocrites. There were hypocrites in Mark 3 too. Pharisees who were there simply for the reason to watch Jesus and see if he was going to break the religious protocol. There are hypocrites in every church. There are hypocrites in every single city, every office, every checkout line. Why? Because the world is populated with people. And we're not perfect. And I would just ask the person who's watching this and not going to come because they don't want to see hypocrites to maybe put down the tablet and pick up a mirror. There's no perfect churches. There's no perfect pastors. There's pastors who have integrity, but there's no perfect pastors, no perfect. Why? Because it's filled with people, and people aren't perfect. This man did not allow hypocritical Pharisees who knew more Bible than he would ever know keep him from showing up and standing up. Number 3, and I'm done. When life deals you a jacked up hand, keep standing up. Showing up, standing up. Here we go. This is the best part. Number 3, keep stretching out. For this man's right hand is withered. It's dried up. It's deformed, shriveled. And so if you study this, you learn that the only way he could get in the temple, is if he hid his hand inside his cloak. So he concealed what needed to be healed. Listen to me. He kept it hidden. He might have been fooling everybody else in that temple, but he wasn't fooling Jesus. There's no cloak that Jesus can't see through. And he shows up and he stands up, but I don't know if you caught this. The healing did not take place just because he showed up. The healing did not take place just because he stood up. Jesus tells this man to do something that is literally impossible. He says, stretch out your hand. It doesn't seem as powerful until you remember his hand is shriveled up. It's dried up. Listen, Jesus did not say stretch out your arm. He did not say stretch out your elbow. He asked the man to stretch something out that could not be stretched out. When life deals you a jacked up hand, God will often ask you to do stuff that does not make sense on the surface. How can I stretch forth something that cannot be stretched? Jesus says, before this healing takes place, you're going to have to uncover what you've tried to keep hidden and let everybody see what's made you unclean. Watch this. Because God will not heal what you continue to hide. God will not heal what you continue to hide. I didn't say he can't. He can do anything, but he won't. How long are you going to come on Sundays and act like that thing ain't that thing? And I don't say that, I say that in love, because I got my thing, we all got our things. But we act as if God doesn't already know. He won't heal what you continue to hide. I'm asking somebody to prayerfully consider this morning, stretch out your hand. I don't know what jacked up hand life has dealt you, but stretch it out to Jesus. You coming in here acting like you got it all together and then leaving still disformed. Keeping it hidden and acting blessed and highly favored. How you do? Like, what would happen if instead of keeping secrets, we kept it 100 and pulled out what would mark us unclean and let the only one who's ever been clean enough to do anything allow his cleanliness, his righteousness cover what made us unclean? Stretch out your hand. And as the man stretched his hand, in an act of faith of something that did not make sense, as he stretched his hand was made whole as the other one. I've learned something in my 32 years of life. I don't like stretching. I've been running a little bit recently, and I get tightness, and all the people who know way more than me are like, are you stretching? I'm like, no. I don't have time for that. I just ran. Like, you want me to run and stretch? But there's something about the stretch. Hear this. It might be uncomfortable at first. Because when I was stretched, somebody like Steve Morris, is he here? Someone like Lorenzo, all y'all who are just beasts in the gym, I'd be like, oh, it hurts. You know, I'm over. Whew. That's a good stretch. Ah, yeah. Killed it. Watch this. But the more you do it, the less it hurts and the better it feels. And it elongates your muscles and makes you more flexible and helps you out moving forward. The stretch is never comfortable, but it's necessary. Hear me. We could stay at 944 Main Street forever. We could do 5,000 services on a week, and we would if God told us to. But God has told us to stretch, to stretch, to stretch out. You see, there's one person I know of who showed up on earth, who stood up to self-righteousness and Pharisees. who was laid down on a cross and stretched out on that cross, who took a nail in his left hand and a nail in his right hand too. And Jesus is stretched out on the cross, and he dies for me and for you. And they put him in a borrowed tomb of Joseph of Arimathea, and 3 days later he gets up out of the tomb and he walks around for 40 days showing himself to 120 people with holes still in his hand, letting you know, I might have holes in my hands, but that's because they're holy hands. And I might have holes in my hands, but I'll never drop you, I promise it. After 40 days, he ascends, watch this, and he's seated at the right hand of God. That he shows up on earth. At 12, he's found in the temple. He stands up to self-righteousness and religious protocol. He's stretched up on a cross. He takes nails in his hand, and he ascends and sits at the right hand of the Father. And the Bible says that you and I are seated with Christ Jesus in heavenly realms, which means we might have been dealt a jacked up hand on earth. But if you just keep on showing up, if you just keep on standing up, and if you just keep on stretching out, one of these days you will be seated at the right hand of God with Jesus. Stand to your feet. I'm finished. You might have felt like life has dealt you a jacked up hand. That you look at this hand and say, there's no way I'm going to win any tricks with this. I'm not going to get a single book with this. Watch this. Play what you got. Show up. Stand up. Stretch out. Because seated across the table from you is the best partner you could ever ask for. And it doesn't matter what cards you play. If Jesus is your partner, you're going to win every single time. Let me pray for you. Dear